John, can you help me out real quick?
Yeah, for sure. What you got?
It's between these two. I don't know, both of these are really nice. I'm kind of leaning towards this one just because of the better quality on the leather. This one, however, has a better color blocking for the custom I'm going for. Thoughts?
Honest opinion, yeah, I think you're right with the gun, man.
All right, man.
What size you looking for?
Size 9.
Size 9?
All right.
Gotcha.
Appreciate it, bro.
Oh, man, enjoy, brother.
You're the man, John. Thank you. Got the sneakers. Let's get back to the office to do this Louis Vuitton custom. Let's go. What's up, everybody? We just got this authentic Louis Vuitton bag and some Air Force Ones. We're about to make some customs for Sneakercon. But we gotta destroy this bag. First things first, we gotta do some laser engraving. We only got one shot at this. About the line, but I think the idea is, like you mentioned, like starting over here on this one so we don't get too close to the air. But yeah, let's roll with that, bro. I like it. It's gonna be a nice touch. Right now we're gonna laser engrave directly onto the midsole. This is a good spot for any laser engraving, right next to the air, right on top of the line. I wish I would have been doing this with all my Air Force One customs since I've had this machine. If you guys like what you see, make sure you hit that like button. And if you're new here, we drop new videos every single Monday and Thursday, so make sure you're subscribed. Crisp, bro. Mission successful. We're back from laser engraving. This is already one of my favorite details ever done on Air Force One. We got all of the Louis Vuitton logos right here next to the air. On both shoes, it came out perfect. Once again, shout out to Christian. Now for the next step, we're gonna take out our laces, insoles, and start deconstructing the shoe. We're gonna remove the labels off the tongues and the swooshes on all 4 sides. This part is really easy. All you need is a really sharp X-Acto knife. Just be very careful when using it. You can easily slip and slice a shoe and cause a lot more work for yourself. Take your time and it'll come off real smooth. Once the swooshes are off, you're gonna wanna clean off all the remaining stitching. What I like to use is some pliers and my fingers to yank them off. So far, so good. Now we're gonna continue the deconstruction process by removing these tongues using an X-Acto knife carefully. For this custom, I'm gonna be taking a lot of inspiration from the official Nike Louis Vuitton collaboration. Tongues are off, we'll come back to those in a bit. Now we're on to some prep work. We'll be using some acetone and cotton balls to remove the factory finish to get it ready for a paint job. For the millionth time, you guys, prep work is so important. When you guys do this step, make sure you guys wipe off the factory finish completely. Later on, when you guys lay down the paint and stencils, you will have issues. The taping is just as important. Make sure there's no tape on the leather because that paint will peel off when you remove the tape. Got the tongues removed. I am planning on putting them back on the sneaker, just raised a bit higher, just like the off-white Louis Vuitton Air Force Ones. The thing is, we got some stitch holes that we gotta fill in using some leather filler. Right now I'm gonna tape around the holes. There's no need to get leather filler anywhere else but the holes. Using a spatula, I'm gonna apply a little bit of leather filler onto the holes. Don't cake it on, it's gonna require several coats. Make sure you apply thin coats to begin with. While we let the leather filler fully dry, we're gonna move on to printing some stencils. Right now we gotta print the Louis Vuitton print a few different times. This is the bag that I picked up in Las Vegas Sneakercon. I picked it up for a steal. I only paid 300 bucks. It was in a box full of beater bags. This one was the best from the bunch. Now we're gonna chop it up. The thing is, we don't need too much material for these customs. We only need enough for 4 swooshes and the tongue tags. We're gonna cut off the handles and basically everything that isn't the Louis Vuitton print. So far, so good. That was pretty easy. We got our original swooshes right here. We're gonna lay them out on the bag to see exactly what I wanna cut out. Like I mentioned, we don't need this entire piece of material. We're only gonna cut out this small piece and go from there. We're here with my dude Eric. He's about to help me recreate the Air Force One swoosh. When it comes to the Nike check, there's so many different versions on the Air Jordan 1, the Air Force One, and the Blazers. So it's important that we get the exact same one for the Air Force One. So like, let's say that's the Louis Vuitton swoosh. It's also Eric's first time ever using the laser engraving machine. He's about to go 8 for 8 on these swooshes. As you can see, I'm getting inspiration from the official Nike Louis Vuitton product. Whoops, don't need to burn down the building. We're back from laser engraving. Eric did a great job cutting out these swooshes. Over here, we got the Louis Vuitton material, and we got this material that's gonna go underneath the Louis Vuitton swoosh. The next step is to paint this leather with the tan leather paint. For this project, I went with a double swoosh for a few different reasons. One, I'd never done it before. Two, it's another detail that's gonna make this custom really pop. And three, Nike and Louis Vuitton did it on their sneaker. Painting is complete. Now we're gonna go ahead and stick both swooshes together. But for this, we're gonna go to the next studio next door because there's better ventilation. We're gonna spray some adhesive spray onto the Louis Vuitton swoosh, and then we'll stick it onto the other part. Everything checks out. Let's go back to the studio. Got the swooshes put together. The backing is a nice detail to complete the look. Now for this next part, I have either two options. I can either directly sew these swooshes onto the shoes using the patcher, or using the post bed, I could create simulated stitching all around and glue these onto the shoes. I personally am gonna go with option 2. I can easily do option 1, but the thing is, on these low top sneakers, when I sew it onto the shoe, you see the inside stitching. It looks a little janky. It's not horrible, but I don't want that look. For this one, I want that premium vibe. So we're gonna go ahead and go to the post bed and add the stitching all around the swooshes. As always, we wanna get the stitching as clean as possible, so we wanna take our time with it. However, sometimes the machine does not wanna cooperate. Swooshes turned out great. Now we're back onto the tongues. Before we sew them back onto the shoes, we gotta give it a quick paint job. We'll be using some metallic white. Got the metallic white laid down on the tongues. It's very subtle, but when you compare it to the flat white paint job on the shoes, it really pops. Now we're gonna go ahead and put it back onto the shoes. The reason why I took it off in the first place is because I wanna raise it. Originally, it was sitting a little too low. I'm getting inspiration from the off-white Louis Vuitton Air Force 1s. On that shoe, the tongue sits a lot higher, so you can see the tag on the side that I'm gonna place on it later. So we're gonna apply a little glue right here on the end. Same thing on this area of the shoe. Then we're gonna let it sit for a minute before we stick it together and sew it. Got the tongue in place. Now we're gonna add the stitching all around this area. There's a lot of different sewing machines out there. The one I'm using right now is called the Patcher, and it works amazing. It works best to sew things directly onto a sneaker, such as the tongue that I'm doing right now. All I gotta do is go over the original stitch holes. Got the tongues fully sewed on. Now let's move on to the paint job. We're gonna lay down some more metallic white on the toe box areas and both side panels on both shoes. But first, let's do some quick taping. White metallic paint is laid down. Now we're on to laying down some stencils. We got a Louis Vuitton print. This stencil is gonna go on the side panels and the toe box. We're gonna use some transfer paper to lay it down. It's gonna be a little tedious just because it's a lot of them, so let's get it going. Before I lay down the paint, I always use a heat gun to lay down the stencils as flat as possible, especially on the edges, because that's where the paint always leaks through. Got some more Louis Vuitton stencils. Let's weed it out real quick. I always recommend to use the vinyl from Cricut. This part is easily the most tedious process. I gotta take my time. Part 1 of the paint job looks good. It's very subtle, but in certain angles and different lighting, you can see the Louis Vuitton print. The Louis Vuitton print is that metallic white. Everything else is a champagne tone. Now we gotta do the rest of the leather. We're gonna do some taping. What we're gonna tape off is everything we just painted. We're gonna lay down the exact same tone I laid down last, the champagne color. I didn't mention what I mixed up for that tone. I used metallic white with a little bit of true gold. We're gonna go ahead and cover up the rest of the white leather using the airbrush. When painting over stencils, you don't want to overdo it because two things can happen. The paint can come off of the stencils, or you're going to create thick paint border lines.
What you doing, dude?
Doing some winning, dude. How you doing?
These are the ones that we're giving away?
That's right, man. Yo, sick backpack you got there. What's up with that?
You like that?
I see the Rejuvenated branding.
That's coming out soon.
What do you think about the shoes?
I think they're sick.
So the Louis Vuitton print is going to go all around. I'll
Okay.
show you the tags and the swooshes later, but
Okay.
These are
size 11?
these are size 9, man. But unfortunately, neither of us are going to get
Yeah,
these.
that sucks.
We're going to give them away.
Okay, well, I'm gonna stay out of your way.
Got the second part of the stencils laid down. So far, so good. On one shoe, I laid down black vinyl, and on the second shoe, I laid down white. This is just so I can tell which one's right and which one's left. Just kidding. The only reason I use black and white is because I ran out of white vinyl. The next thing I'm gonna do is lay down another coat of the champagne color, except this time around, it's gonna be a little bit darker. I just added some more gold to it. I don't want to overhype it, but this paint job looks really sick in person, you guys. It's one of my favorites so far. Real quick, the next step we're gonna do is go over the Nike Air and the swoosh. Originally, I thought I was gonna have to go in and paint over that. Luckily, I could just go in with my finger and scratch off the paint. I already started doing that on this shoe. We just gotta do the second shoe as well. As I go, I'm gonna be brushing it off. Got the paint off the Nike Air and the swoosh up front. Now we're gonna lay down a glossy finish all around the paint job. Once we're done with that, we're gonna go back inside and remove all the tape. We're done with the uppers for now. Now we're gonna jump back to the midsoles. We laser engraved this bottom piece next to the Air. Now we gotta paint it. We're gonna use the exact same tones we used on the uppers. But first we gotta cover it up. All done with the midsole. I gotta say, it's very subtle, but it's a much needed detail. Now we're back to the uppers. On this side, I haven't done any prep work on the swoosh. It still has the original paint job. On the opposite side, off camera, I got to work using the Dremel. As you can see, it looks really rough. It looks horrible. But the idea is to get it nice and rough so the brand new Louis Vuitton swoosh can adhere to this material properly so it won't ever come off during wear. Good to go with that. Now, this is where we bring the Louis Vuitton custom to life. We got our authentic Louis Vuitton swooshes that we're gonna stick onto the sneakers. The only reason why I'm not gonna be using the patcher and directly sewing them onto the shoes is because I don't want any of these stitching showing on the inside of the shoe. It just looks a little jank sometimes. So the next best option is to directly glue it on using some Bark Super Stick. We waited a good 20 minutes to let the glue fully cure. Now it's time to bond the swoosh and the sneakers together. We're gonna heat up both sides real quick and then stick it together. When it comes to all my customs, I try to make them look as factory as possible. Right now with this step, I gotta make sure the glue is applied nicely because I wanna make the swooshes look like they were directly sewed onto the shoes. I also want to give love to the original Louis Vuitton Air Force 1 customizer, Rafe Adelberg, and Union LA. Let's get on to the details. We got our insoles right here. These are the original ones that came with the sneakers. I like these because they're brown, but we are going to wipe off the Nike Air logo and apply a whole new one. We're going to be using the Louis Vuitton Nike logo that was on the tongue tag of the original off-white Louis Vuitton sneakers. While we print that out, we're going to be using some acetone and cotton balls to wipe off the old logo. Insoles turned out great. Lately I've been using 3M material over regular white vinyl just because it's a lot brighter. Now we're gonna move on to the midsoles. We're gonna be using the exact same paint that we used for the leather underneath the Louis Vuitton material. We're gonna be painting the strip all around the midsole. Paint job's complete, easy stuff. Now we're on to the detail that I've been waiting for this whole time, the custom Louis Vuitton tongue tags. I went ahead and sent out a section of the Louis Vuitton material to my boy D-Nice Customs. He cut it out and directly printed on it, and I gotta say these are my favorite yet. On the top, we got the Louis Vuitton Air, directly inspired from the off-white Louis Vuitton Air Force 1s. And on the inside part, we got 1 of 1, size 9 US, on the bottom saying, made in Vick Almighty Studio. Shout out to D-Nice Customs. We're gonna go ahead and adjust it and apply them onto the shoes. This custom's complete. The last thing we're gonna do is lace the sneaker up. For these, we're gonna be using the original white laces. These are good quality. I never use white laces for my customs, but for this project, it calls for it. I'm also gonna go ahead and add some gold aglets to the tips to finalize that premium look. All right, YouTube, that is gonna bring us to an end on these customs inspired by Virgil Abloh's Louis Vuitton Air Force 1s. I gotta say, in the last 10 years, I've never done a Louis Vuitton custom. There's been a lot of cool ones, but the majority of them are so basic, so it made me stay away from the overall theme. Until Nike and Louis Vuitton officially collaborated. In my opinion, they came out with the perfect product. All the details, the colorways, the color blocking, all that stuff is exactly how I would have done it if they would have gave me the reins. For my customs, I kept it pretty aligned with what they did, added the Louis Vuitton print all around the sneakers, but I did a metallic white and champagne tone to give it that shiny pop. My favorite part about these customs is the authentic Louis Vuitton print on the swooshes and tongue tags. Everything else is just details to tie in the Louis Vuitton Nike theme. These came down to the wire. It's Friday afternoon and tomorrow's Phoenix Sneakercon. I'm gonna pack these up so we can display them at the table. Who knows, I might just give them away to the lucky winner.
Sneakercon Phoenix.
Here just to show it off real quick. Wow. This might be one of the best prizes I've seen at 40 for 40. Vick Almighty is responsible for this, and I just want to say shout out to Vick Almighty. Give it up for Vick Almighty right here. He's right in front of the camera right here, man. Yeah. Listen, big shout out to Vick Almighty. Big shout out to Rejuvenator. We love you guys always, man. You gotta show those off to the crowd, man.
How's it feel, dude?
It's the best feeling in the entire world. I thought I was gonna have a heart attack. I didn't know they were talking about me, and I was like, and then when they're like, yeah, you come here, I'm like, I felt like the entire world just stopped, and it felt like just everyone came together and
Celebrated a big win, huh?
Yeah.
So, man, good lucky winner. I'm glad they're going to a good home.